Okay, welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 133. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions Community on Google+. With us tonight we have Daniel Nugraha, world's greatest programmer. We have David Rozam. David is an SEO copywriter. He's been copywriting for 30 odd years. He doesn't look old enough. And the last 10. You can find David at writingforseo.org. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. That's web.net. And he's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense and Google Plus Help community. Rob Mars is an AdWords aficionado. He runs marketbiz.nl, that's MarketBiz with 2 Zs, in the Netherlands. He's a top contributor in the Dutch language on the Webmaster Forum, AdWords, and Search Forum. Thank you, Rob. And Tim Capper is a conversion rate optimization specialist. He's proud to call himself an SEO. You can find Tim at onlineownership.com. He's based in the frozen wastelands of the United Kingdom. Okay, if I can find the right button to click, we'll get into these questions. We're a bit light on this week. Only 11 questions, which is unusual for us. But anyway, let's get to them. This one was from Claire Bresnahan, who is embarrassed to ask, but her dream is to eventually work as a content writer or ad writer in tech. I wouldn't be embarrassed, Claire. It wouldn't matter how bad you are. I mean, look at David Rozam is a content writer.
I could see it coming. I could see it coming.
Anyway, Claire wants to get her ducks in a row on her personal website. She said, I've created a website on Weebly as a portfolio of my writing for eventual employers to look at with links to the publication they're in. I'm also planning on beginning a blog about the history of tech and science. Should I start the blog from the portfolio site, or should I keep it as a separate website and just link to it?
Yes. No. I think the question is, what does Claire want to achieve with this? I think sorry for this. The blog on science and technology, or whatever it was, the blog on history of technology and science, should almost be the leading item. Maybe she should have her blog and sell her services off the back of the blog, showing how she, as examples of her work. I'm not sure that the personal website with a blog about tech and science, sorry, the personal website with the portfolio with this plug-in blog about history of tech and science works so well as a concept for me. Weebly, I think, is a free hosting site, if I remember correctly. I haven't been near it for yonks, but in the past, its SEO credentials were a bit wonky, to say the least. I hesitate to say don't use it because it's technically wobbly. Weebly now, but I would do a bit of digging about that, because if you want to show your credentials, you really need to have a site that's behaving well SEO wise and getting you some rankings, I would have thought. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
think about what you're trying to achieve, as to which way you do it. I think just the blog as a way to prop up your portfolio is probably not a good idea. Tim.
well,
Me? Oh, I thought you
well,
said Tim.
Tim, yes, him. The man pulling his hair out.
yeah, yeah. Well, look, if she's going to be a tech writer, would it not make sense to, have it all on one site as such? I mean, the portfolio can be, left on Weebly, but if you're going to be doing, if you really want to get going with a sort of a tech blog and science blog as such, get that going, but probably not Weebly. I would probably just maybe use WordPress. It's very simple, very easy to use, and it's pretty much SEO friendly. Just get someone to skin you up a WordPress blog, a nice little design, nice and clean, and then again you could, on your about page in there, have a little bit about yourself and then reference to your portfolio. So it all works nicely hand in hand. If they want to get hold of you as an actual writer, they can find it in the about page, and of course they can then view on your little Weebly portfolio other examples. But essentially, if you want to push yourself as a tech writer, you do need to try and get yourself, I mean, it doesn't have to be, all singing and dancing, but just a nicely skinned WordPress blog. Domain will cost you a tenner, and there's some very, very cheap hosting packages out there, and just do it properly as such. But yeah, go for it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, sounds sensible.
Yep. Well, I can add a little bit on Weebly. Not so much a client, a friend had his son build him a Weebly site, and he used to have a good site that was ranking well. I just did a site operator search on his site, and it appears like a Weebly site is just is just one page full of hash bangs, and he's got 137 entries there, which is about the same number of entries he used to have on his existing site, which was plain vanilla HTML. But if I go to the first two pages, I can't find him listed under Gold Coast Architects. And I noticed that he's advertising in PPC, which is something he didn't do before. So I think that backs up what you guys had to say about the SEO credentials of a Weebly site. All right, Claire, I hope that's been useful to you. Anything else? We look forward to hearing from you. Number 2 on our run list tonight is from Stephen Oliver. He said, I'm working for a reputed online pharmacy site in the UK, and we have hosted an on-site blog as well. It is a 10+ years old site. I put some efforts for guest posting to create backlinks, but I couldn't find any success with it. I have some budget to spend on links. I have got a list of 70 plus personal parenting blogs. Is there any way that I can utilize them for links? What are other different ways to get links? Can someone please help me?
My first concern here is you're talking links. Okay, this is my first concern. You know, you say you've got this site, well-known, reputed online pharmacy. You 10 years old. You have, you know, you've got blog pages on there. If you're producing content on your site that is totally relevant, do you actually need to go out and find links? Are you thinking about, I mean, do you just want, I don't know, yeah, I'm really concerned about these. Are you thinking optimized links here? Yeah, I'm just, well, pretty concerned about that when you say that, especially since, yeah, it makes me nervous when people say I need to go out and get links. It's a question of, do you really, you know, do you actually need links? What kind of content are you creating yourself? Do people visit your content? I mean, if they're not visiting and linking to your content that you're publishing, does that mean your content sucks? You know, you've got pretty much, as a pharmacy, you've got hundreds of different categories. Within those hundreds of different categories, there are literally another 100 different types of angles that you can publish content on it. You know, that people need and look for. Now, in regards to these 70+ personal parenting blogs, you say you've got a list of. Where did this list come from? Are these just research that you've done? You know that these guys would like to publish it. If you've got a particular product, let's say you're trying to push what's that kids headache stuff, Calpol, yeah. So if you create a really great article about Calpol, kids, headaches, teething, sneezing, and you created an article about how to get to kids to bed when they're teething, and in that you reference Calpol, etc., you know, yeah, fine. If it makes sense for the blog, I would be very careful, because same again, you said you've got this list of 70 blogs. Are they a PBN? PBNs were slapped down, I don't know, middle of last year. So, you know, you need to do due diligence on those. But for me, ultimately, if you're creating outstanding doctor parenting grade content on your site and pushing it out from your site, I really don't see the need for you to go and find guest post links. You know, if you create doctor grade kind of stuff, if you, you know, the BBC will publish that kind of stuff. If you look for some kind of, you know, angle to an article, etc. You know, you can get these, you know, you can get these things published. If you say you're well known and reputed, you know, go after the bigger things. You know, develop a connection with things like, I don't know, Money Saving Expert in the UK. Develop a relationship with them, and then you can give sort of advice on people on how to save money on medication, on household medications. So, for example, Nurofen costs like £4 in the UK, but actually, if you just use the ISBN, the manufacturing codes for headache tablets, and you match the headache tablet, you can find generic own brand ones for like 95 pence. If you provide those kind of things to those big names, you know, they'll publish the stuff. There's, you know, there's a lot of ways. Are you hooked up with the NHS? Has the NHS got a deal with you in terms of subscriptions? I don't quite know how it works, but if they have, would the NHS, do they not have links of pharmacies? They must have a link, a list of pharmacies, area pages, things like that. Get a hold of the NHS. Boom, that's links back for all your, you know, all your pharmacies, and that's from the NHS. You know, there's kind of like hundreds of ideas out there for you to get stuff. But ideally for me, if I was sort of reputable, you really want to be looking at reputable places, not just like some poxy, you know, not just some poxy, you know, guest posts. That will not do your reputation any good. What about NetMums? Hey, if you guys are a well-known brand, get hold of NetMums. Publish regular stuff for kids and mothers in NetMums. What about the mass article, the massive female articles and stuff like Female First or Marie Claire that do these things. Even the Daily Mail on Sundays, they're online and they run those health section at the back. Come up with some great stories and articles. So when you say I've got budget for links, I would spend that budget on hiring a brilliant writer to write you first-class stuff and pitch it out to those first-class sites that want to publish. That, you know, forget about you know, that when you say guest post, paid guest posts and links, that freaks me out, because I don't really know if you know what you're dealing with.
Health section at the back, Tim. How do you come to be reading that? Isn't that where the escort advertisements are? Oh, connection issue.
You should know, Jim.
I beg your pardon, Rob?
I said you should know.
What can I say? All right. So Stephen,
I think that yes, maybe Stephen is labouring under an old SEO model here, and I think, you know, the thing is to create content on your site and get people to link to it naturally, and also to do as Tim said, to really put some effort into creating really good top quality content and punting it out to real authority sites, not personal parenting blogs. Those 70 plus, there's probably only one or two of them that that are really good in that marketplace, and the rest will be pretty low quality, pretty low power, if you like. So yeah, just say as Tim said, just bring your SEO up to 2015 and don't go looking to build links, because the search engines have said more than once that you shouldn't be building them. You should be encouraging people to build them for you. Okay, I think that's me. You'll start repeating Tim.
Thank you, David. I liked Tim's thing about thinking outside the square, and if I can sum it up from both of you, it's that quality today is worth far more than quantity, and if it's used in general terms, perhaps a quality link is defined by the effort required to get it. And perhaps even if it takes a day, when you could in that day get a whole heap of low quality links, it's perhaps better just to get that one. Anyway, let's move. Unless somebody else has something else to add, let's move on to the next. Okay, yeah. This one is from Damon Kozel. How can I get my site to be ranked higher in other countries? I own a website, Scrap Metal Prices and Auctions site, scrapmetalpricesandauctions.com. The site has been around since 2008. It is a USA-based website with servers based in the USA. Yet Google ranks my site very high in Canada on google.ca. Yet in the USA, it's ranked very low. I do have a page on my site for Canadian metal prices, but I also have a page for US prices. How can I get my site to be ranked higher on google.com versus google.ca?
Probably not what you really want to hear, but I really do think your site, if you're competing against in the scrap metal market, I probably want to slightly redesign the site a bit. I mean, you're competing in the US against, the scrap metal register itself, and some big prices, metalprices.com. I see you there in the US, number 6, number 6. Let me just check that incognito. Oh no, sorry. What are we looking at? Yeah, you are 2, 4, 6, 7, position 7. Yeah, so let's see. Let's give you some ideas. What do you actually do? Prices. Right, well, firstly, I mean, I don't know how the market works, but your listing prices from January, and we're into April now. I don't know if that's a relevance. Do you guys, I would table these up probably better. You're also referencing them out from other people. So you're listing out Sullivan Metals, Great Metal Recycling, Mazza Recycling, Rockway. I would probably try and table your page better. I mean, it's full of you know, ads. Does anyone have any ideas about the scrap metal industry?
Well, Neboj Jokic said in Google.com you're #1 for scrap metal prices and auctions, and in the top 20 for scrap metal prices. He said simply there are more competitors in Google.com than in the Canadian version of the search engine, thus it's harder to be on the first page. Canada is mentioned on a few hundred of your pages. Maybe that could be a good reason for Google to rank it well in google.ca. He said you should fix on-site issues and proceed with link building. The website is old and authoritative. You'll manage to reach the top 10. Obviously, Nebojsa didn't listen to our previous
Look, the thing is, okay, look, I've just compared. So you're position 6 in .com for me, okay? So you're there. However, now I've just gone and looked at Scrap Monster, which is position 2, okay? Now, if you look at their site compared to yours, you will immediately see a difference. So I'm looking at their page. They have sections for all the different types of metal. So they've got aluminium, brass, copper, cupro, electronic, blah 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 blah. Whereas you kind of give those, but then you give them from 4 different places, and that's it. That's the only information. These other guys are listing it out. Item, price, the change percentage, units in US dollars per pound, and I mean these guys have really integrated this. You know, do yourself some research, find out where they're pulling these indicators from. Then they separate it out into sort of North America. And obviously they separate it out into lead, gold, scrap, stainless steel, zinc, scrap prices. You know, they've really segmented it out really, really nicely. They also have news on there. So anything to do with kind of scrap metal news, to do with increases, decreases, what's going on, things like that. I see that I can't really see if you've got, have you even got a, okay, yeah, you've got some news there. I
think one of the other issues is perhaps the preponderance of advertising on the first site. It's a lot of advertising when you compare it to the amount of content. And if you look at Scrap Metal price, Scrap Monster, sure enough, you've got some above the fold advertising, but in terms of quantity, it's much, much smaller. And I believe that that would be something that would make Google be less happy with with the first site, with the questioner's site, scrapmetalpostersandauctions.com, rather than Scrap Monster.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else with a little bit more for Damon?
I think that basically the quantity and the quality of information on the site, in other words, the quality of the site, needs to be competitive with those that are above him in the US in Google.com. I think that Naboshka, sorry, I'm not saying that right, is probably correct, saying that the competition in Google Calendar is probably weaker. So I think it's up your game, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Your news items are all copied. Well, I haven't found one yet that is not copied from a press release, news article. You know, if you're going to create something, if you're going to put some news on your site, at least write it out in your own words to do with people that are going to view it. You know, at least rewrite that news, change it up a little bit, make it, add to it, perhaps add a breakdown what this means to your readers. You know, you need to provide something of value.
Okay. Damon, I hope you find that information useful. Here's the next from Daryl Knipe. Can Google Crawler pick pages in frames? He's looking for a way that syndicated content, brackets events, distributed by frames, can be picked up by Google crawlers. Any suggestions? I think the answer to that will be no. Frames have not really been wanted by robots for around 10 years because they simply can't handle them. It's very hard to render. Well, maybe these days they might be able to do something with them, with their rendering, but certainly frames are long out of fashion. And even an iframe is generally a suboptimal method of trying to keep something. It's one way to keep Googlebot from crawling it, put it in an iframe, but even then Googlebot will pick up some, so it's not really a fail-safe method. Anyone else with a comment on that? No, I think if nobody disagrees, that our advice would be that you know, if SEO, if search engine optimization is your aim, then frames won't be part of your plan. All right, let's look at our next question, which is from Ben Balagad. How much does popularity count in SEO?
Well, I'm very popular, so all my clients do very well. Well, I think Massa said it there. What do you mean by popularity? Let me read the rest of the stuff here.
Well, there would be an indirect causal link, wouldn't there? If many people visit a site, then it's likely that you're going to generate more links pointing to your site than a site that has very little number of visitors. So to that extent, you could say there is certainly a correlation, probably not but the number of visitors alone to a site, I doubt would have any direct influence on rankings.
I agree with you, Mr. Taki. In fact, there have been many studies, and I think Dan Petrovic's is one of the most respected, but many studies that have shown that there is no ranking benefit from, say, well-regarded posts in Google+. But there are benefits that flow from social media. But as you said, and I'll just repeat what Masataki did say, as far as I'm aware, John Mueller has been quite consistent and clear in his Hangouts for some time that Google does not use social media as a direct ranking factor. And, I think what you said in the SEO Questions Community was perfectly clear, and I was disappointed with Brett's response. But anyway, I sent him a private message, Masataki. I hope something good comes of it. Anybody else? Okay, just to sum up, it's I think it's fair to say that the answer to the question, how much does popularity count in SEO? It counts to the extent that if you are popular, you have reach, and you can reach a lot of people, and you might be able to convince people to visit your site. But that's no better or worse than taking a PPC ad or to advertising on sites. So, the answer to how much does popularity count in SEO, not one bit. Was that a little bit alternate, I guess? Was that unclear?
Well, not directly. Indirectly,
All right.
yes. Not directly.
Okay.
It was indirectly clear.
Lisa William has asked a question on tracking subdomains in Google Analytics. Hi, I want to know how to track subdomains in Google Analytics, like subdomain.yoursite.com. Please help me to recover from this problem. Look, I can save you guys the trouble here, I think. The thing is, Google regards a subdomain as a website, as a website in its own right. www is a subdomain. Actually, the root domain, it's also a subdomain. It's a subdomain of the .com. But www or whatever, a name which is a subdomain of, say, yoursite.com, it's tracked like any other website. It's just that you can't amalgamate the subdomain with the root domain. Anybody want to disagree with that? Okay.
You can add separate sites into your analytics, I believe.
Separate sites?
Yeah, so subdomains. You can add
Yeah.
them into your actual main analytics.
Oh, can you? I didn't
believe
know
you can.
that. Okay.
Yeah, you have different properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, I've learned something new. Liz, I hope you go via what Tim says rather than what I say. Here's a question from Erythymol TP on unindexed pages. She said, "Hi, is there a way to determine which pages of a website are not being indexed by search engines?"
Well, you can use, obviously, your webmaster tools will give you an indication on indexed pages. You can do, make sure that, obviously, make sure you've got a sitemap in. Make sure that your pages aren't blocked by robots.txt or any meta no indexes. As to a full site list, I mean, you could probably crawl it with Screaming Frog or something. That would give you an entire list of URLs. But that's crawling it whether they appear in the index. That's another issue. You could always check the cache on a URL. That will definitely tell you.
Yeah, I'd be minded to use sitemaps. So you divide your site into different sections. I mean, in terms of sitemaps. So if you're concerned, for example, that a particular section of your site might not be indexed, for example, then it would show in the Webmaster Tools sitemap page how many of the submitted URIs are indexed. So that would give you a rough idea if it is a particular problem that's affecting a certain section of the site. It would point you to that, but I'm not so sure whether you can find out each individual one. You can you?
Okay. All right. Have we covered this one? I'm going to record that as a yes. Let's move on to the next. It's from Niraj Kumar, who signs himself as K. Niraj Kayastha now. How to combine many short posts into one large SEO-compliant article. A website owner wants me to edit his blog to make it more search-friendly. He has written many small articles, 200 to 400 words, and several of them on the same subjects. Now he wants me to combine articles on the same subject into one article of 1,000 to 1,200 words, but he doesn't want to remove the old links or make them redundant at the same time. Which is better? Copy the content, modify slightly, and make one large article with one old URL. The other links are also active, but with rel canonical, or delete them and 301 redirect to a new article.
Personally, for me, I would create, obviously, because your new title, you obviously want to reflect into your URL. So I would probably create a brand new page, new title that encompasses, you know, the broader spectrum of what the article's about, and then use the smaller ones into that to create a great overall article. And then, of course, I would just 301 redirect the old to the new. So you've got the 10 301s, you know, like 10 articles or whatever, redirecting to the one brand spanking new article. That's the way I would do it personally, for me.
It's an interesting one, this, isn't it? Because there's been a lot of talk at the moment about lengths of posts, whether we should be writing 2,000 word posts because the first 5 in each decent category are 2,000 word plus. I have a feeling that that's what's happening here in terms of impetus to pull these together. It's interesting, though, that we're talking about one article of 1,000 to 1,200 words. So I think if you're going down the route of wanting to produce authority in one big chunk, then you're probably going to have to go a bit further than just 1,000 to 1,200 words. I would love to know the outcome of this, to be honest. I would love to see whether pulling existing material together into fewer but bigger chunks help the SEO of the site, help the performance of the site. I don't know. I think that my feeling would be leave them as they are and start writing long pieces from now on. I just have a feeling that rehashing is maybe not going to give the required performance, but that's my gut feeling rather than any reasoning, shall we say? Do you have any reasoning, Tim, or Massa?
I absolutely agree with you in that. I mean, I think that, you know, if you're just creating a Frankenstein's monster by stitching together small articles, you know, what's the value in it? Because if you're saying that the short articles on their own did not have, you know, did not meet the needs of the visitor, and if they're on similar topic or the same topic, stitching them together is not really going to add value to it. It just makes it longer. So I suppose it is really a fresh article in a sense, isn't it? You know, you have to take the materials and then you might be able to write something, but I don't think it's a kind of stitching up job. You'd have to say, okay, this longer version is going to replace all these other articles. Now, if you do that, then what should you do with the short ones? That's a good question. I'd be just tempted to no-index them. I wouldn't redirect them necessarily, and I will definitely not use Vero Canonical, because the longer article is not really a canonical copy of the short article, if that makes sense.
Certainly makes sense. All right. Shall we move on to the next? Good to hear from you, Niraj, and hope to hear from you again soon. Okay, here's one from Hector Dixit, who said, "Hello, I need your help. One of my Magento websites is mobile friendly using responsive design. I have checked it with the Responsinator tool and other tools. It is fine. But my website does not pass the Google mobile friendly test. Why does this happen? Please, please add your suggestions. Thanks. Hector. Dave Elliott said the Google tool should tell you why it didn't pass. Ed Barnett said first check your robot's text, and adds a post of his own, very close to self-promotion, Ed. Nitzja said check your robot's text, also share your website with us. And Hector responded, and he gave us his website. It is goodform at GOODFORM.ch. We were talking about this earlier on, Rob. Did you have any comment to make on this?
Which question are we on?
I haven't
We're,
tried yet.
we're on question 9.
I know. But I have very slow. So either I look at the Hangout or I open another window, but then the Hangout freezes.
I'm sorry about that, mate.
But he certainly should look at the Google test, and that does give indications of where they think things are wrong, and that other sites test it okay is nice, but it doesn't help you.
Yeah, I think there are lots of things blocked by robots.txt. If you throw the site in the mobile-friendly test, and then there's a column that says how Google sees this page. It says this page uses 26 resources which are blocked by robots.txt, and the blocked ones include JavaScript files and CSS files. So I think that's certainly an issue.
That brings us back to the thing we talked about before the Hangout, and that is that relatively good to visit on your mobile won't pass the test always.
Yeah.
Which creates a problem for website owners.
Yeah. The only thing that I can see, I'm using Chrome's emulator, is that the links at the bottom of the page are very much bunched together, and that those are probably too close to one another, and that may be that would certainly be picked up. But otherwise, it looks good to me.
I'm looking at goodform.ch. For his title, he's using that. Is using that as a. He's using his logo as an image. I mean, logo is a very important part of SEO. He should, in branding, he should really have that in text. I'm looking at that using Chrome's Renderer 2, Masataki. Looking at iPhone 6, it doesn't look responsive to me.
You might have to refresh it.
Try it.
Refresh the browser.
Yeah, those footer links are very stuffed.
Yeah. Those are too close to each
You
other.
will have to zoom to click on it.
Yeah. So that's certainly one issue I think that we picked up on.
The rest looks okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it is partly the issue of blocking JavaScript and CSS files. And those are blocked by robots.txt.
Yeah. Did you see his robots text? There's about 50 lines in it. It would drive you mad.
I think Magneto does that automatically.
Can it be overridden?
I suppose so.
One of his disallows is index.php. Okay. All right. Any further that we can add to this for Actor Dixon?
Well,
Okay.
only that when he wants to show up, he must be approved by the Google tool.
Okay. Let's move on.
That's it. That's the bottom line, isn't it? As Rob says, Google is judging you, and if Google tool says there's something up, then that's someone to worry about. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. If they're the judge, jury, and executor, then do what they say. Excuse me.
The other thing I'd say is that robots text really, if you have to block things in robots text, that you really should be looking at another solution. Here's one that slipped under our guard because it's not really it's not really a question. It's a statement, really, but it seems helpful enough. And this is from Ed Barnett. He was the one that did the self-promotion, the previous one. So we'll keep an eye on that one, Masataki. He said, working to beat a couple of rocket-themed Joomla sites into good enough shape to pass the Google Mobile Friendly test, and found the main thing I had to do was adjust my robots text file to unblock, I should say, putting a hashtag at the beginning of the line, the following items: cache, components, images, libraries, media, modules, plugins, templates, and that's all apparently. He said, I hope someone finds that useful. I think that a lot of these things can be solved by just allowing robots text all. And there were no other comments from the community. Any comments from you guys? Okay, moving on to the next. Question 11, I think our last one for the evening. This is from Makita Shah. Robots text blocked URLs still visible on the search engine results page. Makita said, hello everyone. Is anyone facing this problem? I need some help. I have a website whose blog/tag URLs are blocked by robots text, but are still visible in search engines. I have attached the print screen of the URLs which are blocked. The actual website URLs are 132, which in the search engine is showing as 185. Any suggestions? Please help.
Well, the robot text won't help you to not get them indexed. If they're already indexed, Google will keep them indexed and will keep showing them. So you should no-index them and get that robots text out there, because else Google bot can't read that it's no-indexed.
That's it. It's one thing, it's all very well to put a meta tag on a page, but if you also block Googlebot from going to the page, it's not going to get to that page to read it. It's not going to find out because you're blocking it. So yeah, I think that's the best advice, Rob. It's to unblock those tags. And add a meta no index tag to them, so they'll drop from the index. Anybody else? Right, Jingos, we've earned our wages cheaply this week. We've finished yet another week of questions on the SEO Question Community on Google+. Now we move on to our news section, our weekly news roundup. Each week through the week, we make posts to the SEO news community on Google+. And at this time, at the end of our questions on our weekly hangout, we speak on them. This one was posted by the inimitable Edwin Yonk, and he said, or it's titled that Google News URLs can't have years as unique identifiers. Edwin Yonk's comment was weird, and this was a post by Barry Schwartz. And said something cryptic. Don't you find Google News SEO fascinating? You can't use URLs that act as dates, sometimes. I don't have anything to do with news, so I have no clue.
No, I never read the article, but the dates and URLs are a pain in the arse anyway. Not surprising to find out that they may not be of any benefit.
I just want to check something before we close off. I see we still have viewers. Thank you for that. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. All right. Any further business for the agenda, guys?
Not from the agenda, but the new Webmaster Tools is rolling out search analytics instead of search queries. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't. In fact, I was on there last night or the night before. No, but I think that they are putting work into. I mean, it's becoming less. I really think that you've really got to rely more on your own logs, but Webmaster Tools is an interesting look at things. It's a representative sample that is tending to become more and more obscure. But the one thing that I noticed the other night was that obviously someone behind the scenes is putting a lot of work into this, and I think it's an advance on our previous version, but the data, of course, is not as useful as previous versions.
They're leaving out the favorite stars, so you can't favorite keywords anymore, which makes it a hell to keep track of a group of keywords.
How are you guys finding SEMrush? I think SEMrush is absolutely magnificent for keeping track of keywords and ranking.
Yes,
Yeah, but is it legit to scrape the SERPs?
Do you think that they're scraping the SERPs?
They must be doing something. Otherwise, they can't show your competitors' results.
I should add that SEMrush provide a guru copy of the SEMrush tool, which we all use and are grateful for, and they provide it to all of our panelists free of charge. All right. Well, that's it for another week, I think. We'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again. I see we still have viewers. If you like, I'm going to put a link in the SEO Questions Community on the top post, which leads directly into this Hangout. We won't be on the air, but we'd love to have a chat with you. So please feel free to come and join us. As I said, we'll be back at the same time next week.